Hello, wonderful universe. It's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing, and today I'm introducing you to the young mugwort. And I'm introducing you this plant as a young being so you can start to begin your relationship with this plant. This is the first video of 3 that I'll be doing over the year, and this is to help you understand what the plant looks like throughout its life cycle. Now, I know it looks a lot like parsley in some ways here, but as it gets bigger, you'll see the difference. And this is a pretty small plant. It's probably a second-year plant, so it is bigger than just the sprouts, but it's got a ways to go. It's a perennial, and it definitely gets bushy and big, and it likes to spread. Some people consider it a weed, and actually many of the species are considered invasive. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about mostly Artemisia vulgaris, and today it's going to be about its lore mainly, and then the next video will be medicinal uses, and then the last video will be the magical uses. And as you go through these videos, you're going to get a deeper understanding and a better relationship with the plants visually, but also in its uses. And I invite you to, if you have the plant or find the plant, to sit with it and have your own conversations with the plant and see what healing messages they have for you. With that being said, let's start to explore the plant. So, some of the other common names that I found for the plant were called felon herbs and sailor's tobacco, and this plant was actually used by sailors as tobacco when they would run out of, to smoke, when they ran out of tobacco. And the reason for this is, I believe, and I know it's become more popular lately on TikTok, is that it does give you a sense of an altered state. And we'll talk more about that when smoked, when we get into the magical uses, because I think a lot of people associate it with opening the psychic senses, and it really can do that when you smoke it. And we're talking about the leaves here, dried, or actually when you use the tea, the dried plant tea, it can really do the same thing, opening the senses to multiple levels of awareness, as I'd like to say. So, but moving forward, it has a tradition of being used in many places around the world. It's not limited. It's used in China, Japan, Italy, Scotland, and traditionally most of the Anglo-Saxons, Germany, Russia, all used it medicinally and for magical reasons. And so it's mugwort, right? So many believe its name came from it originally being used to make beer. Instead of hops, this was one of the first plants they used to make beer, and because it's a bitter, and we'll talk about that with medicinal uses, but also it having that altering effect on humans' consciousness, much like hops does. I mean, it's not the same alteration, but hops also affects us in a way where it kind of shifts our senses. So it was the original herb for that. And I mean, I like to think that part of it doing to its medicinal properties is that it's used for worms, and what better way, especially back in the old days when water was, clean water was not really available and people would drink more alcohol to prevent themselves from getting sick from water, is to drink something that helped kill worms. It's also used for a lot of different things, superstitious wise, so to say, or traditionally used, almost in a magic sense. And so it was often worn on St. John's Day or the summer solstice to protect people from possession, and it also was said to help protect against disease and misfortune on the summer solstice, I should say. And it's a really magical day and a powerful day, but I do believe that, traditionally people did feel like there was almost like the time of Halloween, where there was a lot more spiritual, magical energies around, both good and bad, and they needed some protection from that, and they would actually wear them for that. It was also used as an aromatic herb in cooking. It would be stuffed in geese when you cook geese. It is a strong flavored herb, so I would like to think that it was not used as heavily. And this was an interesting one that I found. It said it was to help protect a wearer from fatigue of sunstroke and attack from wild beasts. Now, I wouldn't, bank my life on it if you are prone to sunstroke, but I don't think it would hurt to carry the herb around with you in a sachet just for spiritual support. And then this tradition here has been one that's long used in Japan and in China. The downy fibers were rubbed off the plant, and we'll see that when the plant gets bigger. It's too small right now. And they were made into cones for moxa. And if you're not familiar with it, this is a traditional healing method used in China mainly, and also in Japan. And it's to help move stagnant energy. And in this case, they would make cones out of it and burn it on the area or near the area, or they would smudge a person in the area where there's stagnant energy, or aka pain, often used in rheumatism. And so this is still being used today. I know that it's smudged and burned into when they do cupping as well. So it's definitely something that's recognized in many cultures as having beneficial properties. It was also once burned in babies' rooms just to ensure their survival, and I would like to think that that again maybe detoxifying the room from germs on a more practical level. It was traditionally hung in ancient times in China and Japan, hung over doors to exorcise spirits and disease, again trying to keep out evil. So this is obviously an herb of protection from, let's say, negative energies. It was also renowned as the herb of life for a long time in Anglo-Saxon tradition, just protecting people from natural and, again, as they say, unnatural forces. Such a wonderfully powerful healing herb. It was also used for anything associated with the brain, and so they call it a brain remedy, and also helping break stuck patterns, right? So thinking about when our brain gets stuck, thinking about something over and over and over again. And so it can help us deal with our emotional reality, right? What is your emotional reality? How are you forming it, making it, nurturing it, or maybe fostering something that's not so healthy? And so you could use a gentle preparation of a tea. Or, if you do want to smoke it, although, I do not advocate smoking things if you don't need to, because it's always hard on the bronchioles and lungs if you don't need to do that. And so those are just some of the traditions I found. There's a lot of medicinal uses and magical uses, and those will come in the videos coming up, in the early summer and then the early fall, because this plant's going to really transform. I might zoom in the next time I make the video on this plant's not going to get too huge, but I will on my bigger patches, because this plant spreads. It spreads easily, and it's very prolific and abundant, and that is just one of the magical uses. I feel like it promotes abundance in your life, as well as protection. And just for fun, if you take a look, there's this little tiny plant down next to it, and it's purple. I'm going to point to it here. That right there is blue vervain, and I'll do another video on that when it gets a little bit bigger, because it's really, really hard to see. But with that, if you like what I'm doing, hit like, subscribe, check out my website where you can see all the services I offer and some of my blogs. I do astrology consultations, health consultations, and tarot readings. And with that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology Healing. May the plants ground you and the stars guide you. Ciao for now.